I just want to, again, thank these new faculty members. A panel of 7 is no easy feat. So I thought they did a great job and had a lot to share. Back to the dairy facts, because you can never get enough of them. So Wisconsin is home to a little more than 6,600 dairy farms, and that's more than any other state in the U.S. And the next session is dedicated to how the hub is having an impact on Wisconsin dairy farms. As a reminder, go ahead and ask your questions for our farmer panel in the chat function of your media player. It's just to the right of your media player. And if you are looking for contact information and emails and like bios from each of the speakers, you can use the Dairy Summit resources that's on your page. And there's a 30-second delay. I think we might have said that before, but there's a 30-second delay for the questions. If you have questions, don't wait till the end. Pop them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get them in queue. I'd like to welcome our moderator, Dr. Tera Montgomery, who is a professor of dairy and animal science and also the campus liaison for the Dairy Innovation Hub at UW-Platteville. She's going to moderate our panel and kick it off. Welcome, Tara.
Thanks, Maria. Well, it was a lot of fun to listen to all of the new researchers talk about what they've got going on and what they're excited about. It is exciting. Grace mentioned, that they have energy because they're new and they're fresh, and that's one of the things that we really value about what they're bringing. And the other thing that came up was, how do farmers get in touch with them? I would imagine that they're all going to be really interested in what we're going to be talking about next. So we've got a panel of farmers that I have the privilege of working with, both from our regional Dairy Innovation Hub Advisory Council, as well as some folks that we've worked with on the farm and with some of the things that they're doing and challenges that they're having. So I just want to talk a little bit about why we're doing this. It's because of the farmers that the Dairy Innovation Hub exists. The farmers, I think, Joe said, these folks, you folks are out there doing it every day. You're the ones who are doing the hard work and putting in the labor, and the rest of us are here trying to support what you're doing. And so we want to hear from the farmers. We're going to talk a little bit about how they interact with the Dairy Innovation Hub, as well as some of their thoughts on what they see their role is in the future, what the hub's role is in the future, and then also what we can do as researchers to help Wisconsin's dairy farms continue to move forward and make Wisconsin the best place to come for dairy research and dairy innovation. So we're going to start with some introductions. So I'll start with Andy Buttles, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the audience.
Hi, I'm Andy Buttles. I farm right in between Lancaster and Platteville. Myself and my family milk about 1,300 cows. We've been here in our location for about 26 years now. So moved from a more urban area over by Milwaukee because it was getting a little too crowded over there for farms. So we came out here to Southwest Wisconsin and really enjoyed our time here. Really appreciate the agriculture-friendly economy that's out here and the environment for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Amber, how about you introduce yourself next?
Hi, my name is Amber McComish, and I am a dairy farmer / coffee shop owner in Southwest Wisconsin. We have around 250 cows, and we also do some crop farming with corn and soybeans. And then if that wasn't enough, we decided we were going to add coffee shop to our list of things that we do. So we tried to diversify a little bit, especially when the dairy industry was kind of taking a turn for a worse. We decided that was a perfect time to diversify into something completely different. And we've had some success, we've had some failures, but we've really enjoyed the process and being able to connect with our consumers that way. So we see lots of benefits from that.
Awesome. Thanks, Amber. Chris.
Hey, Tara. Thanks, Tara. Chris Wilson. We are our organic dairy farm between Cuba City and Platteville. We farm about 2,600 acres of row crops, about 900 acres of pasture, and milk about 500 cows. And thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody. So we'll start with the first question that I have for you all. Could you describe a little bit what you see your role is, whether if you're on the advisory council that we have locally here for UW-Platteville's Dairy Innovation Hub, or how you've been interacting with the hub? What do you see your role as being? And we'll open it up to whoever wants to jump in.
Sure. Yeah, I guess just being in Southwest Wisconsin, you know, I've been here my whole life, and seventh generation family farm. It's our role a lot of times on the farm is to bring ideas or challenges that we're having to people like Tara that maybe can research them or bring ideas back to us, and vice versa, and kind of be that conduit of ideas. And that's a lot of what we've worked on with the Dairy Innovation Hub, is applying some of that funding to those ideas and seeing where they go. Then started.
Yeah, I guess I help here on the advisory committee, and I think one of the biggest things is that with the 3 different universities, make sure that we're doing things specific to our area a little bit too. We have a little different set of concerns than maybe the other universities. So the farms down here are a little different in size and scale and maybe different interests. So we just want to make sure we have that good diversity. You know, Wisconsin's a very diverse place. There's lots of different things going on. So we just really want to embrace the diversity, make sure that we're doing our thing here and other people are doing their thing. So not everybody's doing the same thing, and we're getting lots of different ideas out there. And the other thing I really like is that we're kind of balancing stuff that has an immediate impact with long-term research. A lot of research, you know, it takes time, and we won't see the benefits for a long time. But I really like how the hub early on has done some things to kind of balance so we can get some immediate impact, but also really setting the stage for some long-term impact.
I think I bring some unique things to the table sometimes. I have some unique ideas, and I in turn like to give them, as well as I get great ideas. We make gelato in our shop, as well as make coffees. We do lots of fun things and bakery things. But on the gelato front, it really has been great to compare with Tara. And on the business front, like, what are you doing to make your business thrive, and what we're doing. So it's been a great way to bounce back ideas, I think, and to be able to learn. And some things that I really look forward to being still part of this is the research that they're doing, being able to learn about it, what they're doing. I'm really excited for the robots that they have in Platteville, you know, things like that. Like, those are the things that we want to see as dairy farmers. We want to see the visual things, like robots, like how are they working? How is it going to get better? And even on the side of, like, the business diversification side, I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Well, I think you've all kind of touched on this a little bit, but is there anything that you would add if I were to ask what you've learned by being involved with the hub so far, and what it means for your farm and your business? Is there anything that you would add?
I guess for me, it really has opened my eyes on how interconnected everything is. You know, how we all kind of get stuck in our own little world, but how the processors affect us, who affect the researchers, and then you get private industry in there. Everybody's really in rural Wisconsin is really intertwined and interdependent on each other, and it's really shown how to keep a really strong rural economy, we need to keep with the infrastructure here. So it's really shown the importance of that to me, how everybody is really all kind of correlated somehow, and we all depend upon each other. And to keep our dairy industry strong here, we really need everybody, and it's really one way we can bring everybody together that way.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the expertise. I mean, the groups of students that I've been able to work with, the knowledge that they have, and a lot of them don't have an agricultural background. So I've enjoyed the aspect of even that them being on the farm and never having been on the farm. Engineers, kids that grew up in cities, making that connection and seeing how their skill sets can impact our farms, our communities, and our economic ecosystem here in Southwest Wisconsin is pretty cool.
I had mentioned the robots. That was probably the funnest and coolest thing I've noticed or seen so far, especially in our region of the Dairy Innovation Hub. I actually talked to Ryan quite a bit when we were out one day. And just what I don't remember how long, it was a very short time that they had the robots, but he was seeing great things, and I am so excited to see what else he finds. It particularly impacts me and our farm because that's something we definitely are looking for in the future. So things like that, things that we can implement or grow or diversify on our farm, those are great things to see happening in an innovation hub, and great things that we can take home, right? Like that's what farmers want. We want take home things. So that was definitely one of my biggest ones was seeing how well those are working and how much they like it. And that's exactly what I want to see, is that they like it, and there's new things going out there, ways to use that research or that information from those robots. Those are another thing, like, is it worth me putting them in? Things like that. I love to see that kind of stuff before I make that kind of a purchase. So that was probably one of my biggest things.
Appreciate those thoughts. So this kind of transitions a little bit and reaches a little further maybe. What are some key issues that keep you up at night for your farm and your business? And so what are some of the key issues that you think, especially if you've had a chance to listen to things that have been talked about today, or as you've been interacting with the hub either here at Platteville or at the other universities, what are some ways that you think the hub can help you with those issues that you're struggling with?
I think it kind of, for me, it goes back to also the robots. Like, labor is an issue. I think on almost every farm, I haven't heard anybody say anything different, but so robots being one of those things that helps ease that issue. And that's one of my biggest ones. Another having to do with our gelato business, using Platteville as a great way or a great resource, seeing what they're doing, making their own ice cream, and what it's been taking to do that. We are very co-aligned with that, how we're trying to make some of that kind of stuff happen. So growing a business would probably be the other issue for me, that the Innovation Hub is helping me with that. So those are kind of my two big ones.
I think a big one for me and what Amber's doing kind of is an extension of this, but markets, how do we continue to grow the markets we have, but then also develop new markets, reach more consumers, maybe reach different goods. What other products can we develop? We keep producing more milk every year, and reaching those markets, not just in our traditional products, but expanding that product, expanding that breadth, I think is very important. And I'm excited that some of the areas in the Dairy Innovation Hub that's exploring, new ideas, new market potentials, new product potential.
I guess I totally agree with that. I think one of our big things is, as dairies get larger and make commodities, it doesn't really lend itself well to here in Southwest Wisconsin with their topography and rolling hills. So I really think helping if I find other sources of income or just not make commodity products, make specialty products or different things like that, it's huge for our future here. We really want to keep the dairy industry here so we don't become like other areas of the country where some rural areas are in decline. We really want to keep those dollars here. So to do that, we need to find new ways how to balance our future here, but with different products and also keeping it environmentally friendly. So we're just trying to keep the resources we have in this area, benefits of those, but yet being able to be economically profitable.
So one of the things that has kind of come up, given the fact that you guys are interacting with the university and you've been interacting with the university for a while, but just to kind of give some of the folks who are listening some ideas of how they might interact with universities that are closer to them, or even some more folks who are local, to Platteville. Could you talk a little bit about some of the ways or repeat some of the ways that you're interacting with our students? So how do you feel like our students, because we're not a Research One university like Madison, of course Madison has students as well, but how do the undergraduate students come into play here, and how do you think it's valuable to interact with them in the Dairy Innovation Hub?
I guess we've always been really active with the Platteville students. We do a lot of internships and part-time work so we can really interact with them. And the thing I've always enjoyed about when classes come out or with those interactions with people working here is that they really are really hands-on. They want to see what's going on. They want to be on the farm, have a really good understanding of that. They're a real need for people in management positions, and we've been very fortunate to hire quite a few Platteville grads and it was kind of an extension of working closely with the university. So it's just been a great pool of talent for us. And now with the hub coming in, it's great because there's this more core mass at the university. So there's even more people, more chances to get involved in, just makes the whole program stronger then.
I have to agree with Andy. We use interns a lot. We had one this past summer. We've had multiple, some on management on the farm as well as in our business. So that's been a great way to not only being part of the Innovation Hub, but having that student there, being hands-on, talking to you, is getting some of that research information, right? That's just another outlet, is being able to talk to them, seeing what they had learned. I mean, I think it's one of my favorite things about working with interns is they always are going to give you new ideas about how to do stuff or do things, whether it's at the store, at the farm, whatever. They are great resources for new ideas. And they're also, I've had a great experience just for them working. They've been done with work well with work ethic and things like that. So they're great assets in both ways. So that's my experience with the students.
I think in the projects that I've worked with the DIH, primarily have been senior design groups, more engineering focused, and I've just been extremely impressed at their talent and their skill set. So it's been a lot of fun to give them challenges that we're having and see the ideas and solutions that they're coming up with. Continue to exceed expectations on the problems that we throw at them, which kind of raises the bar. And each semester that I work with a different group, we're shooting for higher and higher levels, and that's been extremely rewarding. And then, as I alluded to earlier, just seeing their connection to the land, to the farm, after a lot of them growing up in the city, I think that aspect's been rewarding in the other direction. Me to see it, but also for them to take that on to wherever they go as they graduate and move on in their careers.
So one of the things that has kind of come up, Amber mentioned the robots, and Andy mentioned kind of the uniqueness of each of the locations where the universities are. And so we have things that we do, differently that we can focus on. We have a lot of organic farms down here, which has been good for the students. around here that have, definitely a sustainability focus. And so at the university, some of the things that we're doing to get technology at our university farm, at Pioneer Farm, so that farmers and processors can see what's going on. We have robots that have been reinstalled thanks to Dairy Innovation Hub. We're going to be building a dairy pilot plant out at the farm. We have a new feeding system that's going in so that we can feed cows individual forage diets and individual concentrate diets with the robots, take that individual milk and take it to the dairy pilot plant and find out how can we make new products and all those kinds of things. So when you think about what the hub and what this funding can do for ways that you can look at things differently or whatever, what do you hope that the hub can do moving forward? So 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, do you have any really grand, I hope this is where we get, I hope that this is something that we can accomplish? Any really big picture things you guys are thinking about, or dreaming about?
I guess for me, the biggest thing I think going forward could be the environmental impact. I really think we can really we can find different crops and different cropping systems that can really, really benefit this area. With our topography, again, we have unique issues. I really think going forward with some good numbers and research backing it up, we could really help the whole sustainability thing, really improve our cropping systems, how we do things, and just really make huge advances with that, with the right research in the right places. I really think there's a huge opportunity there.
I think probably my biggest hope would be to see just all this fun research that's happening. There's a lot, I'm sure you've heard it all this morning, but would probably be implementing it, telling farmers about it, and actually doing these things on the farm to make our businesses better and make them thrive. On a selfish standpoint, but on even for business-wise diversification, I really hope to see more farms get into that and not have to go with the normal things of how to diversify, but really go into get out of the box, new types of products, things that could bring people and make this a bigger dairy state than it already is, right? Putting us on the map, just like Andy had said. But those are kind of my two biggest hopes, are implementing that research, making our farms better, more sustainable, and then selfishly helping me grow my business in a way that will help everyone, essentially. So, I think there's so much to look forward to,
Yeah, I would just echo, I think, both what Amber and Andy said. I think seeing new product development, seeing the ability maybe to expand small-scale processing, things that connect the consumer more directly, those opportunities within the marketplace, as well as a lot of the on-the-farm challenges, automation, data, the things that some of the projects were presented to this morning. I'm excited to see them go from ideas into implementation, early adoption, into more of a broader adoption. See dozens of farms implementing some of the ideas that are out there.
So Amber, you brought up diversification. Could you talk a little bit about what maybe some of your early successes or failures were as you developed your gelato business and your coffee shop, just maybe to kind of give other people who might be thinking about something like that a sense of, advice, I guess?
Success. We'll start with that, I guess. But for some success stories, I guess just trying to figure out how to make it myself. So it was actually, that was probably the biggest leap, was figuring out how to make it and doing it in a way that I could do it. So we don't currently make it from our own milk yet, but that's actually the goal, right? And to do other things with it too, and ways to utilize our milk. But that was probably the biggest hurdle and the greatest triumph, right? Was to be able to figure that out. I did consult with actually the University of Madison on some of those kinds of things. So having that resource, again, was tremendous. But some of the failures, I guess, a lot of them having to do, I think, with the environment of COVID and things like that. Like I started out doing wholesale mostly of selling gelato. And at first that was great, but then kind of COVID came. So that was, it really hindered that because people weren't going anywhere. And I couldn't really go out and go to different restaurants or grocery stores to sell them because they weren't really even talking to anybody, or products were just hard to get in general. So that was probably one of the biggest, not necessarily failures, but challenges, was the supply chain. So learning those things and how to contact a grocery store or how to do that. Those are things that kind of make it or break it, how you do it. And so we ended up doing the store, and that was probably one of our biggest successes, was doing the store. We had a community that we did not have a coffee shop, didn't have an ice cream parlor or anything like that in our town. And doing that, I think, especially during the time of COVID, it was right when we literally opened it up the same month it all came tumbling down. So that was a great time, but it also like gave people hope. And I guess another huge success, I think, I had mentioned it a little bit previously, was being able to connect with the consumer. We get a lot of people from different places, even in town. We do cater to non-dairy people too, but at the same time, we do that so that way we open up conversations, let people know that, hey, we're open to that. We're open to all ideas. Just don't cut us short, like think that what we do is wrong or anything like that. It really opens up dialogue about how humanely we work with our animals. I have pictures all over our walls of our cows and things like that. And that's what makes people ask questions. So I think those are kind of my two biggest successes and probably my biggest challenge. Have we really failed? No. At least that's what I tell myself. But I think those are probably our two biggest things. So hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you. I know that Andy and Chris, you guys have been working on things like dairy beef and interesting crosses and some of that sort of thing. One of you guys want to talk about how some of that diversification is going for your farms to include more things besides just, milking the cows?
Well, I'll jump in, I guess, Andy. It's been interesting. I mean, dairy crosses are certainly not new, but I think as dairy producers, we are looking at as possible different enterprises. And I know on our farm, that's something that we're starting to explore and do more and more is look at that as its own enterprise and look at what type of markets we can potentially and what kind of value add we can create within our operation. And, I think that's a different decision for every farm, but I think that's certainly, I think that's certainly for us is definitely something that has, has interest in an area where we can pursue. I think there was I think it's Dr. Mary, I'm probably messed up his name, but they're looking at the genomic impact of the beef versus dairy crosses and how that's showing up in the product side, and he was looking for partners, and I think I'm excited to maybe jump into that boat and continue to kind of advance that, because I think that there is definitely as on the producers we've had so far fairly there's opportunity, I think, to be more aggressive in what we're doing and from a management standpoint of not just throwing a general Angus animal as our cross, but being more specific and trying to create a more value-added product on that backside. And then for us also the impact of how does that interact within a pasture system when you have a dairy cross? So I think, there's a lot of interesting things in that area, certainly going forward.
Yeah, I think it's really changed things. So it's kind of, research took a while to get sex semen, and now with the combination of the research that came with sex semen and then research with all the great reproductive systems we have this opportunity for new products. So I think it really shows how research that took years to come up with has really provided us with new opportunities now. So now instead of needing every replacement animal raised, we have the luxury of being able to use animals and use them a really high quality beef animal specifically for that purpose. And two, even with cows, we're just so much more efficient now with the system because we don't have to raise as many heifers. And it's just shown how the research done years ago can really provide great benefits going forward. And I think it just shows the importance that the research now, we aren't quite sure where it'll lead, but it'll lead to great things going forward. But in the short term, yeah, it's allowed us to have this whole new revenue stream. We can really tailor these beef crosses to their specific purpose. It's not like our Holstein bull calves that weren't quite as desirable. Now we have a way better product. We can market that product, and it gives us a way more opportunity for a new revenue stream.
So speaking of new revenue streams, it's like you guys are reading our minds here. So have any of you thought about, and I know Andy, your farm has been expanding over the last couple of years, but have any of you thought about producing like renewable natural gas from dairy manure or any of those kinds of things that are kind of becoming talking points in the industry?
A lot of the science still has to come out, but yeah, if we could do something on a smaller scale than what it is now, it'd be a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of farms, especially in our area. We could put several farms together into one system. I think might be a benefit. Right now, those technologies are really based on really large farms. So I think one thing the hub could do is maybe do some research as how we can use some of those bigger technologies, but scale them down a little bit for the farm size we have here, so we can really, really harness that technology that's out there. Right now, it's just a little hard to do because of the scale you need to make it work. But in Europe, I know they're making it work. So I'm sure there's ways we can scale it down and make it efficient. And it'd be a huge benefit for both the economy of the dairy farmers here, but also the environment as a whole in the driftless area.
I fully agree with what Andy said. I think it's hard for us in particular to reach in the short term. Because we are, a smaller, like he said, it's usually pretty large dairies that implement this, at least currently. But I don't see that as something that could happen or potentially happen. And like he said also, sorry, that, farms could go together. And I think it's going to take a lot of collaboration between research and schools, like the Innovation Hub, and it's also going to take a lot of collaboration on the farmers' part. If we have to kind of go together and hopefully for the greater good accomplish great things. So I think it's definitely doable, but just like Andy said, it's just not obtainable at this moment.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. Amber said it just our scale, it's not quite there. So it's technology that maybe brings that down and meets us at our scale would be really interesting. On a similar track, I think I'm also interested in just dual land use applications of renewables. Looking for opportunities. We already have a fair number of windmills in the region. I personally think they're great because you're getting a dual use, a dual economic value off of that. And I think there's also opportunities, in our system, we're looking at solar panels with grazing systems that create that dual use.
So we've talked a bit about how you guys have been interacting with students and with some researchers, whether it's at Platteville or at Madison. In fact, amongst all of us, we kind of represent all of the three schools from where we went to school and who we're working with right now. So if you were talking to, the farmer down the road, some of the dairy farmers that that haven't been necessarily interacting, or somebody who is closer to River Falls or Madison, what advice would you have on how to reach out or how to present some of your challenges to researchers so that you can start to, how they can start to engage with, with us at the universities?
I guess for me, it's just always been about people. So it starts small. Maybe just have a conversation with somebody, and then it grows from there. Yeah, I think always the initial contact, get to know somebody, and then interpersonal relationships really go from there. So you start working with one person at the university, and then they say, hey, this guy over here might be doing this or is interested in that, or maybe I have a student who's interested in that. So you can really find people who have similar interests or expertise in the area you're looking for. So really it's just about reaching out and starting that conversation, because maybe it's just if they have an open house or meeting, just going and just getting to know one person or somebody you're comfortable with, and then that really opens the door so you can really see all the different options that are there and all the different interests, because there is such a huge variety on of all three campuses of people and interests that you can really find a lot of great expertise in any area that you're kind of looking for at that time. Because I think a lot of times as farmers, we kind of have these ideas and this and that, but then we also have these immediate needs. So maybe something we weren't thinking of comes up, like as we grew, all of a sudden human resources becomes more important. So then you start looking for resources for that. So it's kind of just making the initial contact, and then once you're there, you can really see who's there and kind of figure out who has the expertise that you're looking for.
I would agree. I mean, I think even if you saw something here today, or a friend of a friend, drop them an email. I've been really, really impressed at the faculty that, especially at UW-Platteville, being where we're from. How excited they get to have something new to work on, and new ideas. And so I think that there's a lot of energy there. And if you're willing to extend that olive branch, there's plenty of opportunities to have it reciprocated and explore new ideas. So drop an email, a phone call, and just reach out on ideas.
I pretty much reciprocate what Andy and Chris had said, but just knowing farmers and being one too, just noticing what another farmer does, it kind of escalates, right? Like if you see one guy doing something with rotational grazing or, doing something, I feel like it just kind of, escalates from there. So just being able to have like a couple people do something and then be like, hey, getting talking and this works. I think it'll just grow exponentially. So I'm really excited to see what all this information takes in the future. But it's just a web or getting to know other farmers, things like that. Farmers have quite a bit of knowledge on who to talk to or who does what or when, right? Like, so I feel like that just a couple of people getting started and reaching out with researchers and things like that, I think it's going to be a really great way for people to know and grow. So
I guess kind of on the flip side, the young researchers that are coming in and that are excited and they have all these ideas, and I'm not saying that you guys are intimidating, but you're the farmers, you're the experts, and you're also really busy. You're so busy. What advice do you have for researchers on how to reach out to you guys? To say, and what's the best way? Is it approaching your farm? We know from, on the sales side, nobody wants to approach farms and get run off. And researchers maybe are worse than salespeople. I don't know. We're going to ask you to do things and give things up. But how do we approach you? What's the best way? Is it to present at a conference and just say, hey, we're open? Or is it to do some of the one-on-one conversations? How do you like to be approached?
I guess for me, one-on-one works pretty good. I mean, there's usually, again, some kind of an in-person contact or somebody knows somebody. But I've worked with quite a few who just approached me out of the blue now with the university, and we're always pretty open. I think the biggest thing is if the young researchers kind of get a feel for when farms are busy or not. So, I mean, it's really a timing thing with us. The seasonality of cropping plus all the other stuff we do, just it's really trying to figure out, when the slower times of year are. So it's great to start in the winter time. That's a great time to get conversations going, and then you don't want to start a project or a big idea right in the middle of like corn planting or harvest time, obviously. So for us, it's usually a timing thing where you try to work with everybody can, but certain times of the year just get really busy. So it makes it kind of hard. It's not that we're trying to ignore people, but it's just, there's certain things you have to get done then too. So.
I agree with Andy with the one-on-one, but I think it would probably be wise to maybe just do an email first as like a warning, I would say, and then, comment on a one-on-one. That also like kind of breaks that ice a little bit too, just kind of like what he was saying, to make sure that you're coming on the farm, that you're not a salesman, because we all love salesmen, and then just to break that ice, I think is a good way to do it. And then, I'm sorry, what else was I going to say? It was just an email going out to the farms, and the timing of winter, or this planting season, things like that, the timing of things. Now, if it's like for crops or something like that, definitely wintertime, trying to prepare, giving that timing before doing the project. Is it going to be next year? Some of this research stuff takes a lot of bit of time. So trying to contemplate how to execute it, I think and before you approach a farmer, having a plan would probably be wise, just because, we don't have a lot of time. And if you're like, okay, you want me to do this, you got to tell me when, how. And I think a lot of farmers are open to it. It's just finding those guys that are going to be your first go around.
Yeah, I think everything Andy and Amber said is very true. I think seasonally, the wintertime. I mean, that's when we do a lot of our planning, our thinking. I know it doesn't work with the academic calendar as well, but January is a great month. It's a great month to reach out. As far as networks go, look at your local area. Look at Hordes Dairyman, different media sources, that who's on the front page, who's in those articles, who's getting interviewed. Look for some of those leadership farmers in that region. Reach out to them. Maybe they don't have the time, but they probably can point you in the right direction of who to talk to and how to start a conversation. We in Southwest Wisconsin, I feel like we're pretty blessed. We have a lot of advocates for dairy in our region, and that's awesome. Just reach out to one of them, and like I said, they may not have the time or interest, but they will certainly give you the right names and the right references.
Well, it looks like we're pretty much out of time. I really, really want to thank you guys for taking the time to spend a little bit of time with us, answering my questions. And honestly, from me, all the time that you've spent with me over the last years, and hopefully well into the future, in helping to make sure that the Dairy Innovation Hub and our dairy program and all of our programs here at UW-Platteville are successful. And hopefully other researchers and farmers have gotten a lot out of our conversation. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Tara. And again, to our 3 farmer panelists, I'm sure we're going to have more questions as the events go on this week, and we'll certainly pose those to our farmers.